Okay, so the disadvantages that Stephanie brought up that me and my partner had stated earlier was that she said that debt is not it's not an issue because it's spread around the board. However, in all retrospect, when you have money to buy things, and like in this case, if you have money to buy education, you're gonna have the money to pay all the tuition and the fees and the books and all of that. However, if you compare that to a poor person, they're not gonna have as much abundancy to fulfill all that's needed with that. So no, it's not all evenly spread out debt. First of all. Second of all, it does take back longer to pay the debts because of the fact that when they're in school, they have to have a full-time job. Instead of going to school full-time, they have to go part-time to school and a full-time job just to make ends meet in order to pay their tuition because it's not free. So, going back to one of the points that we stated earlier, that the funding is very vague on why tuition needs to be free in education for the simple fact that right now there are many universities that are spending their money on, they're focusing their money on athletics. So off of the Temple Gold Stadium, off of Philly Archives, they state that the chairman of Temple University, Patrick O'Connor, has confirmed that they estimated a cost of $100 million of school funding that's going to be used in order to create a new football stadium for them. So, in all retrospect, $100 million. Do you guys understand that how much money is being put forth in a stadium that the so-called like all these players that are going to go play football, not only like less than 5 of them are actually going to go to the pros. So why are we investing so much money into 5 to 6 people that are actually going to make it out of university to go on to the professional level? If you were to ask any student, if you were to say, hey, I'm going to hand you $10 million, I would personally, as an athlete, I would personally give it to everyone that needs it for an educational purpose. You know, what about the doctors and the lawyers and the nurses? You know, in all retrospect, there's so many careers out there that do put you in debt because you have to go through so much schooling. So when you have $100 million on the table and you're going to give it to the athletic department so they can go ahead and build a big fancy new stadium, that's not a good source of using the school money for a positive impact. And that Temple's not the only university doing this as well. The same Philadelphia Archives also stated that the Cincinnati stadium that was just built was actually not $100 million, but it was actually $86 million in expansion. So in 2 stadiums combined, that could cover almost a full college of people to go and further their education for free, counting books, tuition, board, and the fees. Second off, there are standards that, Stephanie did bring up, that if we do have it, then everyone would have access to it. No, that's not how it would work. The tuition would be for free. However, if we are going to be handing out free things, you have to qualify for it. So there would be a standard for SAT scores, there would be a standard for your grades, and there would be letters of recommendation in order for you to go. Because if you're not college ready, then you shouldn't be abusing the system, which so many people do based on healthcare, healthcare and Medicare, food stamps and stuff like that. People lie to get free stuff. That's just the harsh reality of it. Also, the families that we talked about, there's an article from Dropout Rate of College that says some parents are able to provide for their children with financial resources necessary to pay in tuitions without some difficulties. However, there are many post-secondary educations that would be left out without question for the fact that students do not want to impact their families with a bigger burden that they already have. So, like Monica stated earlier, she was the oldest that she didn't want to put that burden on her family. I'm the oldest of 4. I wouldn't do that either. I have 2 jobs in order to do what I have to do in order to not be in debt, and I'm still in debt, and I go to a community college. Because you're in a community college, you shouldn't be as much in debt as other people. So, and there's a big significance as to the dropout rates for college tuition being the big factor of it. And that's because there's actually an article based off of First Financial Banking that says its most recent survey of the college pricing, the College Board reports the moderate college budget is in-state public college in 2015 to 2016 was the average of $47,831 in debt. So in all retrospect, that's just one person in a 4-year long college. You know what I mean? So if you honestly multiply all the people that we have, if you multiply the money for all the people that actually finish schools, there's a very big portion that don't, because of the fact that they don't want to be put into that situation of being in debt almost $50K. And the reality of it is only 20% of students are part-time, and of those 20%, only 10% are, so 50% of those students actually make it out within 3 years when a community college is intended for 2 years. So why push the time back because they have to pay for all the fees? And lastly, the government spending right now for education, according to the U.S. total spending, is actually at $1 trillion. So they have $1 trillion, and of those $1 trillion, they are actually giving $62.6 billion to the Pell Grant. In all retrospect, if community colleges and universities were free, they would actually be saving $40 billion for the fact that the Pell Grants are being misused. A lot of people lie on them, and then if there would be a stricter rule as to the proof that they need, the government would actually benefit in saving the $40 billion, and they could actually put that into other resources. So colleges isn't as big as a deficit as they needed to.